The Finals is a love letter to the first-person shooter genre. All at once, it's a live service game, a multiplayer game, a tactical shooter, and an immersive sim. In what has been a tired genre for many years, The Finals brings something completely different but strangely familiar to first-person shooters. In a nutshell, the game is a team-based multiplayer shooter where players are contestants in a virtual reality game show that have to complete objectives to earn cash. There are three big cornerstones to this game that make it unique: the build system, the unique core game mode, and the environment dynamism. Tribes was one of the first multiplayer games to use a body type system. In it, you can choose the degree of armor your character has, and that changes their speed, health, and access to weapons. Brink from 2011 uses a similar system and introduced the idea of classes into the mix. Heavy builds, for example, not only had access to heavier weapons, but specific equipment depending on their class, and one heavy could take a completely different role from another one. The Finals uses a similar system, in which you can choose a body type build to base a loadout around. Light, medium, and heavy all have distinct equipment and weapons that cement each archetype for a variety of undefined subclasses, similar to Team Fortress 2. Each has access to one specialization, one weapon, and 3 gadgets. The Light is fast, fragile, with access to high damaging but low capacity weapons, and gadgets focused around recon and disruption. They're centered around being catalytic in nature and making things happen, but they have little control over their environment. The Medium is even balanced and versatile, with access to average damaging, average capacity weapons, and gadgets focused on support and mobility. They're centered around introducing variables and regulating their team. The Heavy is slow and tanky, with access to low damaging but high capacity weapons, and gadgets focused on demolition and defense. They're centered around occupying space and exerting control over their immediate environment. The dynamic of these three builds define the game. Lights on their own lack the stopping power to break through a defended objective. They simply have nothing in their kit that's effective at destroying the environment. Mediums have limited ability to make things happen on their own, their fortifications only hazards rather than obstacles. Heavies lack the ability to reliably support each other and replenish the team's resources, but are fantastic at defense and breaking through enemy fortifications. With these traits in mind, the game plays differently depending on your build and loadout, and your priorities as a player change. This simple change of perception on the part of the player keeps the game feeling fresh for longer, and is a simple tactic borrowed from the hero shooter genre. Change how it feels to play the game, and the game changes with it. The genius of the system is how player creativity is built within it. One specialization, one weapon, and 3 gadgets opens a plethora of combinations for the player to choose to bring into any situation. If a player chooses to play as a medium, for example, they can run something balanced, like a healing beam to restore health to injured teammates, an AKM assault rifle for equal power in engaging in duels and giving covering fire, frag grenades, a jump pad for mobility, and a defibrillator to quickly bring a downed teammate back into the fight. In the same build, they could choose something goofy, like a Guardian turret to automatically shoot enemies in range, a Riot shield to run around and block incoming bullets and whack enemies who come too close, and a variety of mines to plant around and catch enemies off guard. By giving the player 5 variables to switch around and experiment with, a good portion of the fun is simply figuring out what works best for any given player. This extends to both the light and heavy classes, both taking on significantly different roles depending on chosen loadouts. Defensive heavy loadouts with machine guns and deployable cover to turtle and survive incoming teams, or Hulk-like heavy loadouts with a charge attack and a sledgehammer to decimate anyone who comes too close. Assassin-like light loadouts with an invisible cloak and a pistol, sonar grenades, and portals. Or slice and dice light loadouts with fast dashes, a sword, and an assortment of getaway gadgets. The sheer number of combinations keep players experimenting almost indefinitely, especially as the game changes and grows over time. The Finals expresses creativity within itself as much as it inspires you to be creative with it, and this relationship cements one of the core pillars of the game. Now that we have the players defined, let's define the objective. As mentioned in the introduction, the bread and butter of the finals is cash out. 4 teams of 3 navigate through the arena to vaults, crack them to spawn a cash box, and bring the cash box to one of the 2 cash out stations to deposit it and earn money. Or take the cash box to a cash out in progress to double the payout and make the game even more interesting. Here's the trick. Cashing out at a station always takes time, and a team has to defend their cash out from other teams who can steal it from them and claim it as theirs. This creates a unique role reversal situation that's present in most tactical shooters. The idea is if you're not defending, you're trying to steal. In Counter-Strike, terrorists are usually trying to plant the bomb on counter-terrorist sites. If the counter-terrorist defense is overwhelmed and they plant the bomb, counter-terrorist then has a chance to defuse it before it explodes. Attackers become defenders in tactical shooters, and vice versa. Clever little trick here, isn't it? What distinguishes this implementation in the finals is the freedom of capture. At most, a defending team must stave off 3 other teams attempting to steal, not just 1. And other teams are free to fight each other on the way or even on the site. Nothing is ever set in stone until the final moments before the cash out finishes, and the cash out can be stolen any number of times, and any team can win at the last second. This simple, fresh spin on the tactical shooter gameplay loop is kept fresh through a number of environments, each a battleground for players to take cover, create entrances, and fight one another in reaching the inevitable cash out. The gameplay loop has one more trick up its sleeve. Tactical shooters typically have the same static site throughout each match, and players can learn the best angles and strategies to take regardless of which side of the rope they're on. In the finals, walls and ceilings are destructible, so consistency is thrown out the window. Instead, it's best to play cash out as if it's an immersive sim. If you don't have an entrance, make one. If you don't have cover, build some. In games like Prey or Deus Ex, there are always multiple solutions to each problem the game throws at you, especially when it comes to getting into new areas. It's quite common in any match of cash out to simply have a rival team blow the roof open and totally circumvent your barricaded doors and windows. Adaptation is key, and there are always several ways to solve the same problem. That added layer of depth keeps cash out fun and fresh, even after dozens of matches, and it's why it exists as the core game mode of the finals. The third pillar of the finals is the environment dynamism, the way the environment can be manipulated for the benefit of the players. The developer's core gameplay rule is as follows. Enter any space, climb every rooftop, blow a hole in any wall, and wreck entire buildings. Use the environment to your advantage and develop original strategies with your team, and remember that your opponents will do so too. I touched on it before, but that rule of thumb applies to almost every scenario during the game. Lights, mediums, and heavies all have different relationships to the environment and highly dependent on their loadout. Consider for a moment the environment to be a neutral party within the game. Whereas in other games, the walls and ceilings are simply a way to enclose players together so they're not just shooting at each other in open space. In each arena in the finals, the walls and ceilings are an active participant that only have to be activated by someone. They're part of the emergent gameplay. Cover can be blown away, players can get stuck by fallen debris, and a box or storage container can get stuck in places and act as an obstacle. Bringing down a wall or a piece of the ceiling, or even an entire building onto a cash out to block other people from capturing it is a wholly viable strategy here. Like the other 2 pillars, there's yet another layer to provide emergent gameplay in the environment. Goo, gas, fire, and smoke are what I'll refer to as elements, and they play an important role in shaping the environment as well. They exist in both canisters littered throughout the arena, ready to be picked up and thrown at a moment's notice, as well as grenades if players choose to have them in their loadouts. There's a semi-rock-paper-scissors type system with these 4 elements. Goo is a derivative of glue found in 2017's Prey, and works in the exact same way. Goo is a physical object that can stick to almost any surface and can block bullets and projectiles, but can also be made as a platform to stand on. Gas creates a toxic zone that hurts players standing in it, and does more damage the longer you're exposed to it. Fire defeats goo and gas, and can burn through walls and obstacles. Smoke defeats fire and creates an opaque cloud that players can't see through. Since these can be found and used in the world, even if a player comes unprepared to overcome the environment, The environment itself provides the tools to overcome it. This is a smart solution to encourage destruction and creative problem solving with what's on hand, as these elements are never in the same locations from match to match and cash out to cash out. The environment in the finals is not a place for the players to play the game in, but with, actively. And this relationship is what makes it the third cornerstone of the game. The finals exists for a specific type of player. In a world of heroes, archetypes, and crossovers, the finals feels like a game from an alternate timeline where the majority of the most popular games are still built and influenced by people who enjoy playing them. The game is fun, and the development team clearly set out to make that a priority. That said, it also lacks a commitment to its game show theme. The announcers, fictional sponsors, and branded cosmetics do well to add some personality into the game. Overall though, the finals is missing a core theme or identity that would otherwise enrich its world, and therefore the playing experience. Ospuz, Holto, and Azult are some of the companies that regularly sponsor matches, but other than the energy drink Ospuz, not much is known about what exactly they do. Not much is known about the announcers Scotty and June either, other than Scotty is a former contestant. An expansion on the world of the game through sponsored game modes or events, things that the players as contestants can interact with, would elevate the finals to be known as the game show shooter that it aspires to be. Wrapping it all up, the finals is a brilliant combination of FPS elements presented in a game show-like format. It's certainly a game that draws as much inspiration from the genre it loves as it will inspire future developers when designing their own multiplayer shooters. This has been Game DNA, and I hope you learned something. Thanks for watching.